All right, ready to go.
Good evening and welcome everyone to our masterclass, Three Myths About Psychological Safety in the Workplace. They aren't what you think. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to having a great session this evening and just wanting you to just join in. Feel free to raise your hand, interject feedback into the conversation. This is a safe place. So let's get started. First of all, I just want to say thank you to the team that's on the Zoom with me. We are all a part of Flourishing Workplace. So we are coaches in the certified workplace space, and we're excited to bring this information to you on how cultivating and supporting organizations can happen in a safe place through this three myths about psychological safety, which we'll delve a little bit deeper into, just so that we could practice well-being in our everyday work life and in our personal lives. So I am Dr. Gwendolyn Diggs. I am a certified flourishing coach. I have 30 years in education, and I'm also an adjunct professor at the university, one of the universities here in St. Louis. So I just appreciate you and I appreciate my team. And I'm going to start with my co-host and ask her to introduce herself.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gwen. My name is Dr. Wanda Walker. I'm a former senior executive with the federal government. I did 35 years, and coming out of that, as Dr. Gwen has said, I'm a certified coach, flourishing coach now for relationships and leaderships. As my practice, I actually do try to help teams and individuals as far as lead with clarity, connect with their passion, and thrive relationally. And we do it both in the work side and on people with them personally. So I thank you, and I'd like to pass it on to Ms. TK if you'd like to take it.
Good afternoon, everyone from sunny San Diego. I am TK Mason, and I specialize in resiliency, trauma, and wellness work. So, yeah, it's just an exciting time to see what's just going on in the world and inside of the corporations. And I'm just really excited to be here with these lovely ladies.
Thank you.
Thanks you so much, team. My name is Cynthia Chow Huang. I'm in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I am a business leadership and sales coach and also the director of business development for Flourishing Workplace. And so grateful to be with our team here today to talk about the three myths about psychological safety. Really, what we do best is going to teams and support in building flourishing workplace culture and also with a lot of team building activities. Just excited to hear from the team today. Thank you so much, Dr. Gwen.
Thank you. And thank all of you for just coming on and being a part of this dynamic topic. Really, it's just really needed in our workplace today. We can see so many evidence of it taking place and also not taking place. So we want to make sure that everyone has a leverage of knowing what it's about and how they can implement psychological safety in their workplace. I would be remiss if I did not just kind of highlight our founder, Abe Brown, who is the CEO of Flourishing Workplace. And I tell you, I've never met a coach like A. Brown because he gives you that firsthand experience and he's truly a coach's coach. He has trained over 8,000 coaches throughout his 30 years of experience and has done that with joy. He just pulls you in because he knows his stuff. And he's an international speaker, author, and visionary of the Flourishing Coaching Training and the modules in which he has so fluently coined. And we just thank him for what he brings to us on a daily basis as he coaches us through the process. I just really am thankful for the topic again because it's so important. This evening, the information that will be shared will be outlined to show you the benefits of how psychological safety can be helpful for you as an individual and also in your workplace by being intentional, creating that psychological safe workplace. So I love this quote by Edmund Burke. It says, fear effectively, can you imagine that? Fear effectively robs the mind of all of its power of acting and reasoning. So we want to move past allowing fear to stifle us. We want to make sure that we are putting it behind us so that we can grow and the organization can grow. Psychological safety is not about being nice. It's not about, it's about being real without fear. Remember the quote that I just read. It's about being real without fear. And this is by Dr. Amy Edmondson. Dr. Amy Edmondson defines psychological safety similarly in that it isn't being nice, as said in her quote. It's about truly being real without the fear. So we want to be real. We want to show up authentically. Psychological safety is about candor. It's about making it possible for productive agreements or disagreements to take place, free exchange of ideas. This promotes learning and innovation in the workplace. Psychological safety is not a personality factory. It's not just another word for trust, nor is psychological safety about lowering performance standards. Now, that grabbed me because even in a psychologically safe place, you want to make sure that everyone is adhering to the policies and the procedures of the organization. They're carrying forth the mission and the vision. So it's not about lowering standards. Performance will be high if psychological safety is in place. So another person that I would like to just kind of mention a little bit is Dr. Misha Ann Martin from Work Human, a company that is focused on employee recognition and engagement. They have pioneered this through the human workplace, and it's been over 20 years of research and engagement. Dr. Martin says that psychological safety is the feeling of being authentic, being yourself at work, taking those risks, and being vulnerable without fear of negative consequences. No retaliatory behavior here from the leader is what psychological safety is. Before I move on, I just want to know if you have any questions or any feedback before we get into our next slide. Okay. Psychological safety. Employee responds to the lack of psychological safety. So when you look at this, a survey that was conducted in 2021 from the Workman Company organization says that when there's no psychological safety in place, 32% of the employees felt alone at work. Can you imagine that isolation, going into the workplace 8 hours a day where you spend most of your time and you're feeling isolated? 48% experience burnout. And at some point in our lives, we may have felt that. We may not have coined it or found out why and where this was happening, but we felt that burnout. Then we have 61% experiencing elevated stress. And how many people know stress can make you ill? So we need to find out how can we eliminate that high number of stress that is experienced in the workplace. So here's a question that I posed to the group. Who do you think experience more psychological safety? Men or women, and why? So is it men? Is it women? Um, where do you think we as a society are with psychological stress?
I think as a
I'm going to go with
society,
men.
go ahead, TK. TK says men.
I'm going to go with men because men seem to be more closed off all the time, and they might have one or two really close friends, but it's not like a pack of women where we trust more. So I'm going to go men.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else want to chime in?
Well, from a previous session, I don't want to be cheating per se yet. Originally, I think psychological safety would be from women because we tend to talk a lot to each other and confide in one another. And just interesting how in different spaces this could be a different for everyone. So it could be unique.
Thank you. Thank you. So It would be men. And, I guess too, as women, we tend to just kind of have those sessions of talking. I won't say the other word, the V word, but but we tend to talk instead of, well, I'll say it venting. Well, we tend to just kind of have those sessions where we need to just talk to someone. So, what about if a worker has children or not have children? What do you think? Are they experiencing psychological safety if they have children, or more if they don't have children, or less if they, or vice versa?
I'd say those who have children could exude more psychological safety because a lot of empathy and understanding is required. I mean, I'm not a perfect parent by any means. There are times I have adult tantrums, yet I do my best with the kids. So
Like what you said, adult tantrums, and that can look different, from time to time. So you put yourself in timeout?
I do. And as my kids were getting older and could understand, I literally just I make sure they're good, they're safe, all that stuff. And even now as teenagers, I say, okay, mom needs a timeout. Just give me 15 minutes. I gotta go lower my heart rate. and, and I'll be right back. And then they're
Oh,
pretty good at it. So I just go and lay there or sit there in the bedroom and say, okay, I'll be right back.
I understand. And it is those without children. Thank you. Moving on to our next bit of information. Why does this matter? Why is psychologically safe so important? And when you look at the screen, you see why it's important. It increases production, right? It reduces turnover. No one wants to constantly get a resignation email from your staff. So we want to reduce that, and study shows that it's reduced by 27%. And also a 40% reduction in safety incidents because they're more in tune and in sync to what they're doing. They're not bogged down by the other slide that we saw, the stress, the burnout, and all those, the fear. So again, it's very important to make sure that leaders and organizations, and I'm going to put it on the HR department too, to make sure that this is being built into a part of the onboarding for staff and onboarding for leaders so that they know how to go into their workspaces and make sure that everyone is doing okay. So also just keep in mind that psychological safety is a number one factor that can help increase productivity in organizations as we go through this process. So let's talk about the psychological safety matters and why does it matter so much? Psychological safety matters because number one, it helps with the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the economic well-being. And if we're not helping, there are repercussions to that. And if you think about it, we talked about it can make us sick. Can make you sick. Mental well-being is very important. Emotional well-being is very important. Those stressors, we don't want those to come to the job because of something that is we can fix. We can fix this. We don't have to continue down a path of unproductivity or staff not being well. So these are things that can be corrected, definitely. And I apologize because it seems like for some reason my mouse is doing more than I am. So I apologize for that. When you talk about psychological safety matters, we're going to go into those three myths. It means being nice. It's a myth and it's not true. It's not about just being nice. Um, When you feel that someone is being nice to you, do you feel that they're being authentic or are they just saying something to just move on to the next thing? You know, um, I think we tend to evaluate what people say to us very closely these days. So we want to make sure that we're genuine and we're being authentic. Being in a psychologically safe environment does not mean that people will always agree with one another for the sake of being nice. It also does not mean that people will offer praise or unconditional support for everything that we do or you have to say. So psychological safety is about, again, candor, about making it possible for disagreements and a free exchange of ideas. Is it a substitute for performance? I talked about that. I know in the workplace for me, I'm that stickler for making sure that everyone understands the rules of engagement. It's very important that everyone understand what performance targets we must meet. And it's my job to help them to meet them and to provide that support, whatever it looks like. Provide the resources, the training, and the support to help them to make sure that they have what they need to be successful. So it is not a substitute for performance. Psychological safety is not about anything goes in an environment where headlines. It is not about being comfortable at work. It's about getting the job done, but also enjoying the people around you and the environment. It needs a top-down effort. Not true. So again, psychological safety matters because it's again all about the physical, the emotional, and the economic repercussions. Psychological safety matters because when an individual fears judgment from their supervisor or retaliation, it leads to chronic stress, anxiety, and disengagement. Then you may see that that staff member or that employee is taking off more than usual. Oh, I know Sally is going to be off every Monday and Wednesday because she just can't handle the beginning of the week or the middle of the week. So it just depends. Look for patterns and try to address those patterns head on. It not only hinders the personal growth, but it also results in a costly turnover, reduced productivity, and again, organizational setbacks. Here's this slide that just really makes you just create a story all around it. You can just create a mini series looking at this picture. So when I look at the picture, I think of like one word little things that just kind of talk about what I'm seeing. And I'm going to ask you all to kind of just share what one word can you say about this picture? And you can say a sentence, but I'm telling you, you can create a whole scenario around this of what happened before, during, and after in this scene.
I'd like to chime in. I see stress. That's my one word. But I would say for probably all five of them, nobody wants to be there. They could think of other places they'd rather be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anyone else want to chime in?
I see not again, going down the same rabbit hole again. It looks they're all like frustrated and, oh, we're not going to do this again, and they've gone and done it again.
Thank you, TK. When I see this lady who appears to be the supervisor, I'm thinking, if I was sitting at the table, I probably would say, "Excuse me, I forgot something," you know. But here they are, ready to engage as best they can, what I would say. But I know that probably everyone on the screen on the Zoom have walked into a room as a presenter or as a leader. And for me, my first thing is to do no harm, to definitely make sure that the people in the room with me know that we're there together to accomplish a goal or to a task or to just sometimes just disseminate information. And it's how we disseminate that information or how report on as leaders, it's all in the way in which we present ourselves and the information to our staff. So for me, it's first to do no harm. That's it in a nutshell. First to do no harm, because of course I've had to share good news, bad news, and also to seek information, but letting your staff know that it's okay to share their feedback and to have them interactive in the process and to gain buy-in, honestly, so that you can be more productive. So we're going to share at least the 4 behaviors that we know that leaders can use in order to make sure that they are exhibiting the proper psychological safe environment for their employees. So again, it's more about how we show up so that our staff can show up better. It starts with the leader. So the first thing we have is listen to understand, not to reload. In other words, a leader must put on those because you want to be genuine, you want to be actively listening to what is being said. And sometimes just making sure that you hear what's not being said or you see what's not being said. Those are very important nonverbals. And we as leaders must watch our body language. Can you see that? So anyway, just going forward, it's very important to make sure that we are listening and we're not thinking about our to-do list or our shopping list or our next meeting, but make sure that we're affirming and validating the conversation and the feedback that we're receiving. Model vulnerability. What does that mean? And it takes a really, I would say, a very humble leader to do that, and make sure that you are being human, and being that leader that know that you don't know and that you let your staff know that you don't know. So for me, it's being transparent. It's okay for the employee to say things like, I can help you with this, or I don't know this, or I'll get back with you. So model that vulnerability. It's okay to say you don't know. It's okay to say I will find out and get back with you and do it. I've had to say that, but I also made sure that I followed up with the person that asked the question or needed the information. It's not just saying it to move on to the next topic. It's saying it to say, I hear you, I see you, and I will get back with you. Reward candor. So here we're saying not just correctiveness. It takes really courage for a leader to say again, I don't think that's correct, but it's all in the way in which we say it. Uh, we can disagree without saying you disagree. We can also validate without invalidating or making the individual feel that you don't want them to be open or you don't. The premise of we're in this together, be open and honest and make sure that they not just hear you saying it, but they feel it. Then we have stay calm. Stay calm. So feedback will come. And it's okay. That is what you want, feedback. You want meaningful feedback. And that's not to say you don't have to massage it sometimes and monitor it, but you want it to be psychologically safe for your employees to share. So art. um, of maintaining your composure, especially as a leader during those stressful times or those times where there's conflict and you know that you may have a message to deliver that may not be received well. But again, it's all in the delivery. It's all in how you have front-loaded your relationship with the staff. I truly believe that they are more apt to open to listen when you have a relationship with them, no matter what the message it is that the leader is conveying. So staying calm, think things through, respond thoughtfully, and model emotional stability. setting that tone of respect and resiliency in the workplace is key. So again, a quote that I like is, in the midst of chaos, there is also opportunity. So we have to keep that in mind. Any questions before we move on to say this, not that?
No questions, just a comment. I'm loving this material so far because it really puts a different perspective, especially that image that was shown, right? I just feel also as a leader, it doesn't mean we have to be in a specific role yet or title. However, it's that awareness of how am I being and how am I sending out messages non-verbally, like you mentioned. It's not just what I say, it's my body language that matters too. So thanks for sharing that.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that, because so many times, when we walk into rooms, our audience has already sizes up, before you even say one word. So we do have to be mindful of our body language and our nonverbals, and sending off cues that we may not want to send off. And it's just really important on how leaders just have to think about every integral piece before and during and after, because you don't want to lose anyone. You want to bring everyone along with you as you're leading. This slide just kind of talks about say this, not that. What does that mean? Say this, don't say that. Choosing our words wisely and making sure that we are using words that are kind, supportive, engaging when we're speaking to our audience, both personally and professionally. There's always a better way of saying something, and then it's best to think about that before you speak, because then you will say, I wish I had said that, or I shouldn't have said it that way, and it's out there. And then you get some feedback. Well, what does she mean by that? Why did she say it like that? Or he say it like this? So instead of maybe going into a setting and saying, whose fault is this? Go back to that slide where you saw the supervisor, the leader coming into the room. Maybe she was saying, whose fault is this? What would be a better way to say that? What do you think?
My first thought is always, what could we have done differently? As far as giving everyone an opportunity to look at their role and maybe make a determination of what they personally could have done differently, so we could have gotten a different result, or it's maybe a piece of the puzzle.
Absolutely. And another thing about say this and not that, you mentioned what can we do differently, or what can we learn from this, or whatever the case may be, being more positive in our interaction, in our conversation. You don't want to place blame. You don't want to have that in the environment, in the atmosphere of the blame game, because what you're really, in essence, doing is shrinking your staff. They're going to be less apt to move forward, or hesitant, I should say, to move forward, because you have started to blame. Whose fault is this? Uh, that's hard. We want to communicate in loving kindness. And then maybe you have a staff member that put a suggestion on the table. And the first thing is, that won't work. You know, what could have been said instead of that won't work as a leader?
What are some other potential options?
Yeah, or can you tell me more? Share more about that. Let's hear, because deep down in there may be some very important pieces that you're going to just miss because you didn't allow the person to explain it, not instead of just cutting it down that one word. So what you just mentioned, Cynthia, is let's have a brainstorming session. Talk about it more. Let's have an open dialogue and discussion around the table. Silence helps no one. It just doesn't. It's not the way to be collaborative. So we want to appreciate, we want to praise, we want to thank them for the efforts that they put into the project, and then see, again, how can we tweak and make some, sometimes you have to just do mid-course corrections. And it's not just where you're blaming, but you're just trying to say, let's kind of tweak this a little bit and see what we can do differently. Create micro moments of safety. How do we do that as leaders? Remembering names, asking questions for curiosity, and thank people often, and own our mistakes. So again, here I am, have been in leadership for some time, different levels of leadership, and leaders can make a very powerful impact through small, consistent, genuine actions. I learned that a long time ago, but I never stopped learning how to improve upon it. How can I continue to work with my staff and validate my staff? I too am the world's worst at names, but I do try to associate a name with something that is happening, or, someone with similar names or situations. So that's just kind of me trying to, my memory mechanism for names. Um, so be sincere, express genuine concern for your staff. And also provide opportunities for them to appreciate each other. That's very important, that we show the human side in the workplace, and always be humble and own our mistakes. And again, I'm that transparent person. I don't mind saying, oh, Gwen messed up, you know, uh, let's work through this. So we have to be authentic in our micro moments to build trust, to make connections, and to create a culture where people feel valued. So every day there are moments where leaders can make a difference, without a doubt. Just as Maya Angelou would say, people forget what you said. So I could talk to my staff all day, be in training sessions, professional developments for hours on end. But what did I do to make them feel valued? What did I do to let them know that I see them, I feel them, and I hear them? Those are the most important moments that will help them to internalize what I'm trying to convey in my trainings. So just kind of have to have a wraparound service for psychological safety in the workplace. A toxic workplace. I'm sure that many of us can identify with something in a workplace that we have been in that felt really toxic. And when I looked at this picture, I honestly will have to tell you that I looked at it from a standpoint of the plant being a physical plant, the plant being the organization, the workplace, that plant, that structure where people go into every day, being toxic and affecting this the plant, the building, the organization, to the point of um, weakening it. It being less than what it was when it first started, right? It was thriving. We know it was thriving. A business owner planted a seed and started a business, right? And grew that business to a thriving business. It was flourishing. It was green, And then you look up one day and you look around you, and the physical plant, the building, the organization has started to just kind of decrease in productivity, decrease in momentum, motivation, staff leaving, just decreasing. And so when I look at this plant, I do see a glimmer of hope, and that's where psychological safety comes in. I don't know if you could see it, but there's some green something leaves on there. So that gives me hope. And so this section really is about how can we revive the organization and bring it back to life. Uh, it may just need some nurturing. It may just need some training, some facilitation. It may need some input from a coach to help them to find their way back to where they want to be, where they once were. There's still hope. I believe that. So the workplace is where we spend most of our day. We want to feel safe. Leaders and employees want to experience safety in the workplace. So when we look at the statistics, over 46% of employees trust their employers. That's hope for me. It's under 50%, but there's still hope. If you work with those 46%, they each can gain a percentage of those that are on the other side and bring them over, because you have put some systems in place and some structures in place through making sure that you're building a psychologically safe organization. 61% feel burnout. Maybe it's because we need to hear more from the employee on how to address that burnout to decrease that number. So it's clear lack of trust, high stress, and toxic environments destroy psychological safety in the workplace. So again, I look at this plant as really a physical plant, really a building that you walk into. And knowing that that's not how it started, but we can revive it. Even if we have to hold up that app, a plant app that they have out now, and say what to do. But we are showing you what to do through implementing psychological safety in the workplace. So going on to some of the toxicity in the workplace, we're going to highlight it using number one, not feeling well. I'm sorry, not feeling seen. We talked about that a little bit ago. What does that mean, not feeling seen? It means you walk in the door, no one says good morning, no one says, how are you doing? How's your family? How's that project? You go in, you sit at your cubicle, and you do your work. You clock in, clock out, you walk out. That's low motivation, decreased performance, and a sense of isolation. What can leaders do to help those that are feeling unseen? Recognize the individual contributions, make it a point, build some systems in, foster personal connections, making sure that you're connecting with that individual, and create inclusive environment where every voice is valued and everyone matters, and they do. The solution again is acknowledgement. How can we acknowledge that individual that's feeling unseen? Let's see them. Let them see us seeing them, acknowledging them. So here's some examples of that. Some ways to show acknowledgement would be give specific praise. Celebrate those milestones of the individual and publicly affirm those contributions. Share appreciation with the team members in team meetings, in group emails or individual emails. Everyone has a language of how they want to be appreciated. So finding that out, write personal notes, intentionally checking in on staff, and also invite their input. It's very important. Everyone's voice should be heard. So acknowledgement fosters belonging, boosts morale, and encourage continued excellence within that employee. Going to unheard. In a toxic workplace, the employee does not feel heard. So how can we do that? How can we show that they are being heard? The solution is simple. Let's listen. Let's hear people. Okay, how do we hear them? So if they're not being heard, that means that the trust is being diminished. They're being stifled. Their innovation, their creativity is being stifled, and they're going to be frustrated. So how can we create a culture of listening by, one, inviting feedback, validating their concerns, and taking meaningful action based on what we hear? My slides may be a little off. I'm not sure what's happening, but we're going to keep moving forward. Active listening is very important. And how do we get that done? It's through maintaining eye contact and giving our full attention, reflect and paraphrase, not like parroting, but like parrot, but just kind of say, I think I heard you say, and summarize that so that you can make sure that you're on the right track of what was said. And then also respond with empathy. Not feeling understood. What happens here in a toxic workplace is that when leaders lack understanding, it can lead to disengagement, it leads to mistrust, and it also leads to high turnover. As employees feel unseen and unsupported, leaders can foster understanding by actively listening. Seeking input from employees and responding with empathy and fairness is key. So what is the solution? Is empathy. Let's understand people. How do we show them that we have a heart for what they're saying and for them as a person in our organization? It is listening without interrupting, not giving your thoughts before they're finishing their sentence. It's about acknowledging their emotions, validating what they are feeling and what they're saying, even if it sounds difficult. Even if it sounds difficult, be flexible when you need to be flexible, which is all the time. There are times when we think we have to be just adamant about what's going on, but there's always room for some care and compassion. So again, be flexible when you know that someone is struggling or having a difficult time meeting deadlines. You will get further with what your goal is, and so will they. Check in regularly. Make sure that you are checking in with your staff members through kind words, through thoughtful gestures, and just being helpful. Because if they win, you win, the organization win. Empathy strengthens relationships. It fosters trust and it cultivates a culture where people feel genuinely cared for. And when people know that you care, they will do just about anything for you. They will move the needle for you when you don't know really the needle need to be moved. They'll say, oh, I took care of that for you. So relationships and being caring, concerned, and compassion really goes a long way. And the last one in a toxic workplace that I want to address at this time is not experiencing clarity. So a lack of clarity from leaders leads to confusion. It leads to low morale because the first thing you're going to hear is, I don't know what to do. Uh, I don't understand what she said. What did she say? What did he say? So be clear and make sure that those goals are aligned. Make sure that you're increasing productivity, not decreasing it because of miscommunication or not being clear. And also, leaders can improve clarity by setting clear expectations. Set clear expectations, communicate consistently, and check for understanding. And in my line of work as an educator, when you do a lesson for students, you always have to check for understanding, right? So same with in the workplace, check for understanding to assure that the alignments are across each team. They understand what needs to be done. The solution, again, is transparency. Let's be clear. So, and being clear is just about transparency, communicating openly, sharing your successes, your challenges, and inviting honest feedback without fear of reprisal. So you just want to make sure that you're showing up the way you want your staff to show up, inside and out. Being transparent means modeling authenticity. I'm getting my tongue tied, but at the same time being consistent. So others feel that they can do the same. Everyone wants to show up being authentic and consistent. And my word that I will add to that is fair. Being authentic, consistent, and fair. You know what? Let me see where I am. My mouth is sensitive. Uh, So toxic workplace, lack of leadership development. 52% of the respondents in a recent survey stated that leadership development has the greatest impact on improving an organization. I mentioned that in the beginning of the presentation, and it's true to the end of the presentation. Leadership development is important for psychological safety, for productivity, and improving the organization's culture and climate. A toxic workplace equals a lack of leadership development. When leaders don't feel equipped, they can't be their best selves. The solution is to train our leaders. Again, that's why investing in leadership development is so important. It's not optional, it's essential. When leaders are empowered with the right tools and the training, they create environments where people feel safe, they feel supported, and they feel motivated, and they thrive. Again, going back over just briefly this information here, workplace solutions, not feeling safe, acknowledgement, not feeling heard, listen, not feeling understood, empathy, not experiencing clarity, transparency. All of these are so important because of what you want to create in the workspace. Flourishing Workspace offers the training needed to make sure that all of this is in place. There are training modules, personal assessments that educators and future leaders in these many spaces can just hone in on and be a part of to make sure that you are doing the best for the people that you supervise. So the modules that Flourishing Workplace have, they can be for several hours, a single day, a half day. It can be catered to the organization over a period of time, just making sure that you have the strong foundation that you need in order to create a psychologically safe workplace. We believe in workplaces where everyone thrives, everyone belongs, and everyone contributes. So this is the whole premise of flourishing workplaces and creating psychologically safe spaces in workplaces in your workplace. We present a company that utilizes evidence-based and scientific methods to make sure that you are getting the best possible learning that can be implemented into your program, and we walk you along the way. So we do have a resident psychologist that helps us with that, and that is Dr. Wayne Hammond along with Abe Brown. They are the visionaries behind Flourishing Workplace to help facilitate that professional presence and expertise relevant for this subject matter. And we are excited to bring this to you as Flourishing Coaches under his umbrella. And just know that we flourish together and we want everyone else to flourish in their organization. We want you to thrive. We want you to feel like and know that you belong and that it is safe to show up and to speak up and to contribute for the productivity of the organization. You're a contributor to that mission and to that vision. We want you and your organization to be in a place where everyone is being their best self. They're bringing their best self, and you're at the table and you're flourishing together. Just a question for you. Do you have any questions for me? Next steps are to book a discovery call, get a detailed roadmap on how this is tailored to your specific organization and your needs. And also we will walk along with you, as I stated earlier, to implement this with fidelity so that you will see the results. Data is very important. Going in, we will do an assessment as to where you are with your input. And then as we go along the way, we will show steps where you have grown because you have implemented these processes. So again, thank you for joining me tonight. I look forward to hearing from you. It's been a great opportunity to just be able to share this dynamic, I would say, organization changing concept with you. If you're not where you want to be in your organization, please give us a call so that we can help you to make sure that your organization is thriving.